Of course they won't, Michael. And today is Rosh Hashanah. It's a Jewish high holiday, and we've got now the New Year period leading into Yom Kippur. I mean, the timing, I'd have to say, is deliberate. You know, everybody looks at the calendar when these things are done around the world. It feels like another affront to Jewish people, Jewish Australians, not just Israelis. And these lines today from the Prime Minister, have a listen to this.
We're not about to open an embassy, to be very clear. What we are doing, we're not getting ahead of ourselves. What we are doing is recognising the state of Palestine. Those matters will be determined by the conditions that we've put out.
Are we seriously even having a conversation that he took that question on face value about an embassy? There's not even a shared land border, as you know, between the West Bank and Gaza. I mean, the bloke probably doesn't even know what river, what sea, when it's all discussed in the media. I just find this extraordinary.
Well, remember, our Department of Foreign Affairs and the government said we couldn't have an embassy in Ukraine for a couple of years because it was all too tricky. And I don't know, when you look at a map, yeah, well, and when you look at a map, there's no coherent territory in the West Bank for a Palestinian state to occupy, and Gaza is in the middle of a war. This is what I mean about this magical thinking. The government knows there's nothing underneath their plan, but they're happy to celebrate the moment.
So if the Shiite Muslims hate us and they hate the Sunnis and they hate the Jews as well, then, OK, they mightn't call themselves Hamas, but it doesn't matter whether it's Al-Qaeda or Islamic State. I mean, if the same hatred is in their hearts, and that is who could be in a rebadged form leading this Palestinian state, well, you know, come in spinner, we are the mugs. We in the West are the absolute mugs because they have gone out there and murdered 1,200 people, and they've committed today not to release any of these hostages, and they get what they want on a plate. I reckon the UN will give them billions of dollars to build this Palestinian state. That'll be the next thing, Michael.
Well, except there's no practicality to any of these plans, and Israel retains its key backer, which is the United States. So all of this is just pantomime that changes nothing about a war that has no end in sight.
Right, let's just flick quickly, if we can, to China, because we saw that singular embarrassment of our Prime Minister in PNG last week, talking up this defence treaty, then excusing it, saying basically that all the MPs couldn't form a cabinet caucus. They couldn't get quorum. They're all back partying in their electorates. And then we find out, in fact, the Chinese are the sticking point, and the PNG PM has sent his defence minister off to China to bow and scrape. I mean, I don't suspect we're going to get this deal now. And you've got the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen coming back from her own 5-day swan song around Beijing, and she's saying that the relationship with China, between Victoria, is based on values rather than export transactions. Now, what values do we share with a communist dictator? Michael, you tell me.
Well, Peter, I think the problem for Jacinta Allen is her awful neediness for Chinese cash for Victoria has been wrapped up in utter nonsense. For example, the shared values point. I mean, even Premier Allen must suspect something inherently silly about claiming that a state government in Australia shares values with a ruthless communist dictatorship. It reminds me, she's apparently signed a memorandum around education with the Chinese Education Ministry. This is like a bad rerun of the Confucius Institute debacle around the New South Wales Education Department. Shared values through education cooperation with the Chinese communist education system that is a key tool for communist ideology and strident, aggressive nationalism. When the Chinese officials look at Premier Allen, I don't think they see naivety. I think they see someone who is so needy that she's exploitable.
Well, she's just Daniel Andrews' lucky in a skirt, really. I mean, she's just a continuation of where they got to with him, and he's still in the frame. Just quickly, back to PNG. I think the fiasco that was our Prime Minister's visit, we're not going to see an agreement, are we now, that China's basically going to call the shots for Port Moresby?
I think best case, this thing gets bogged in interminable process in Port Moresby for months. And if it ends up being signed, it'll be because the government has had to stump up far more cash and goodies than they ever had in mind. It's been a debacle of political and diplomatic management.
I'll leave it there, Michael. Poor old taxpayers have already paid $600 million for a footy team. Goodness me, there'll be a hell of a lot more if we get it over the line.